So it looks like we're actually getting a foldable iPad before we get a foldable iPhone, and that foldable iPad will come much sooner than expected. So let's talk about it. So Apple has been famously known to hold off on some new tech upgrades onto their hardware because they want to make sure that the market is A, ready for it, and B, that the technology is ready for it to be mass produced. Some key examples of this are when Apple implemented Qi wireless charging to the iPhone 10 and the iPhone 8, which was years after a lot of Android manufacturers already had wireless charging. Also some things like the edge-to-edge display and being able to do Face ID. Another good one was adopting USB-C across most of the Apple products, because now we have most products that use USB-C versus Lightning. We're still stuck on Lightning for the iPhones, but that will change very soon. And again, there's no difference between this and then also foldable technology. Samsung has been on the forefront of the foldables for about 4 or 5 years now at this point, and their flagship phones in the US right now are the Flip 4 and the Fold 4, and they're selling decently well. Like, I personally see Flip 4s all over New York City, and it wasn't always like that, but little by little Samsung has to somewhat perfected as much as you can perfect foldable technology on a phone, on that phone form factor, and people seem to be adopting that at a rapid pace. But the foldable tech still is not perfect, right? You still have that crease in the very center of a lot of Samsung phones that just don't really work that well. But then you have Motorola trying things like the teardrop foldable design, where it kind of pulls in the screen itself, so you're not doing a complete crease of the actual screen and not leaving that crease there when it's open and have that reflection there. But that also comes with its own problems. And then you have people like Microsoft that also brought out their Surface Duo, which was a foldable in its own right, but it was 2 separate screens. And of course, that also flopped and did not do well. They only had 2 iterations of that version. So right now, Apple seems content to continue to roll out the rectangular slabs, make those as optimized as possible, enhance them as much as they can. But there will be a point where Apple's gonna have to bring that foldable tech to appease some different sectors of the market. I'm sure not a lot of people are yearning for a foldable iPhone, but a lot of tech heads and Apple enthusiasts really want one. But in this video, what I want to talk about is the fact that a foldable iPad will be coming out before that foldable iPhone. And there's a few reasons why we think this. There were reports from Ross Young and Ming-Chi Kuo that there was no indication that Apple was going to be releasing or even manufacturing any foldable screens, at least not until 2025 or 2026. So that again puts us even 3 years away from right now, and that was mentioned last year. But the second reason we think it's coming to the iPad first is because Ming-Chi Kuo came out and said it today that there will definitely be a foldable iPad coming in 2024. Apple seems to have, for the most part right now in their current silo, perfected the way that they want their iPad lineup to be, especially now that they brought this screenless, this bezel-less kind of technology and hardware structure and design language from the 2018 iPad Pro, which is when they first started that industrial design, and now they brought it all the way down to their 10th generation iPad, which is what they wanted to do all along. So now they have everything that they want in their iPad lineup. They're going to let this kind of sit there for a little while, make sure people get all the iPads that they need, and then they're going to see a decline in actual sales figures for those iPads. Because at that point, everybody has an iPad and they're using it as they would want their iPad to be used. But Ming-Chi Kuo does state that he's taking a cautious approach to the iPad shipments for 2023, predicting a year-over-year decline of 10 to 15%. Nevertheless, I'm positive about the foldable iPad in 2024 and expect this new model will boost shipments and improve the product mix. So again, bringing another product category into the tablet world, because at that point, what type of foldable is it going to be? Is it going to be an iPad mini that folds down into almost like a phone kind of form factor? Or is it going to be like a 14-inch iPad that folds down into a smaller iPad mini form factor that can also be used as a desktop solution, as a laptop solution? There's multiple ways that Apple could skin the cat when it comes to a foldable iPad. One more thing that we do know about this foldable iPad is that they are working on a carbon fiber kickstand. So keep that in mind. Most of the time when a tablet comes with a built-in kickstand, that's meant to be used as a kind of laptop situation or a laptop replacement with a kind of Bluetooth keyboard and a Bluetooth mouse where you can kind of stand it up on its own and then use it that way. So that could be the direction that Apple's going with the type of foldable they could do, because like I said, they could just fold the iPad mini in half and then have an iPhone form factor when it's totally folded, or they can go with a much larger iPad that can fold down into a smaller tablet for portability. And again, this is significantly ahead of schedule. We were not expecting a foldable anything Apple related until 2026 and even 2027, especially in the iPad realm, because Apple's been very content with how their iPads currently are. They are moving forward in terms of software and how it's being used as more of a laptop replacement as opposed to a supplemental device to your current hardware. But again, that's all software and services based. From a hardware standpoint, the iPad has been a slab of glass since it first released in 2010. Yes, the bezels have gotten smaller. Yes, we moved from Touch ID to Face ID, or put Touch ID on the power button to get it out of the way. But for the most part, it is just a rectangular slab with a screen that's interacted with a touch-first interface and has its accessories on the side. So getting a foldable iPad in the mix will be the first time Apple's leaving that form factor to do something completely different, but keeping the software and services the same. But let's see what Apple does moving forward when it comes to these foldable iPads. And then lastly, there is one more rumor that with this foldable kind of form factor of the iPad, they are expected to go real big with this thing, where it is, when it's unfolded, it'll be a 20-inch diagonal screen, but when it is folded up, it could be used as a virtual keyboard for a laptop. Imagine maybe that 12-inch MacBook in terms of actual footprint on a desk, but it could be unfolded all the way to be used as a 20-inch screen that can be then attached to, let's say, a Bluetooth keyboard or a Bluetooth mouse, like I mentioned earlier. So that could all be situations, and again, it's all about using the correct computer and the correct hardware for your current situation. So if you're somebody that needs that type of portability, but wants that screen size and that screen resolution, and I'm going to be one of those people that's going to want to love to test this thing out and see what it looks like in the real world. But overall, I'm all for a folding iPad, whether it's a small version, a large version. I just kind of want to see something new in the iPad lineup because we have come a long way when it comes to software, and I'm sure Apple's going to continue to implement and improve on their iOS 16 and iPadOS 16 software. But the next step for them to take is going to be on the hardware side. What can they do with the hardware that's going to wow us and that's going to really make us rethink how we do our day-to-day tasks on a computer? Because now we're at a point where the iPad can be your computer, where the MacBook can be your computer. Hell, the iPhone is a computer to a lot of people where all they need is an iPhone to generate all of the revenue, depending on what you're doing with your iPhone. But that's going to do it for this video. Leave some comments down below of what you think. Would you get a foldable iPad? What form factor would you want for the iPad? How do you use your iPad currently that could maybe benefit from a folding form factor? I'm very curious to know in the comments down below, so let me know. And also, if you made it to the end, leave a little dolphin in the comments so I know you made it to the end. But that's going to do it for this video. If you guys want to watch some more iPadOS, iOS, or macOS content, click on one of these videos right here. But until next time, I'm Fernando, and I'm out of here, everybody. Peace. Foldable iPad would be very cool. Maybe a secondary USB-C port, who knows?